My dear child, there is a counterfeit bill in your wallet, and I am about to shine the light that reveals exactly which one it is. Do not scroll past this. Watch this alone. What I am about to expose is not something the person near you wants you to see. They have been passing through your life undetected. Same color as the real ones, same size, same texture, same words spoken at the same moments. And you have been accepting them as genuine, because nothing about their surface has given you a reason to hold them under the light. But I am the ultraviolet light, and I am shining now. You have been feeling something, my child, a signal beneath the surface of a relationship that looks right but does not feel right, a nagging vibration in your spirit every time this person speaks. Not about what they say, but about what lives underneath the words. You have dismissed it as paranoia. You have scolded yourself for being suspicious of someone who has given you no visible evidence of deception. But the absence of visible evidence is exactly how counterfeits operate. A counterfeit bill does not fail because it looks different. It succeeds because it looks identical. Every detail is crafted to pass inspection under normal light. And the person I am exposing in your life has crafted their presence with the same precision, performing a loyalty at the right moments, speaking support at the right volume, showing up just often enough to maintain the appearance of genuine currency. But my light is not normal light, and what I am about to reveal cannot survive my beam. The feeling you have been carrying is not paranoia. It is my early warning system installed in your spirit, alerting you that something passing through your hands does not carry the watermark of authenticity. Stay here. What I reveal next is the first mark of the counterfeit, and you will recognize it immediately. Type beam if you have been sensing something off about someone close to you, and God just confirmed that what you have been feeling was not paranoia but divine detection. Before we go any further, I need to tell you something that genuinely surprised me. A neuroscientist discovered a simple 7-second technique that actually rewires how your brain processes thoughts. And when I tried it, the difference was almost unsettling. My focus sharpened, ideas started connecting faster, and that mental fog gone. This isn't manifestation nonsense. It's backed by real brain science, and thousands of people are already seeing results. But here's the catch. Only 5 spots are left. If something inside you is saying, try it, trust that instinct. Click the link in the description or pinned comment before it's too late. I have been watching this counterfeit operate in your life with a patience that was protecting you, not enabling them, my dear one. You may wonder why I did not expose this sooner, why I allowed the fake bill to circulate through your most intimate transactions for this long. Why the God who sees all things permitted someone inauthentic to occupy a position of trust in the life of someone he loves deeply enough to be speaking to right now with this level of specificity. The answer is not negligence. It is timing. I have been watching you hand this person your trust in increments, each one a transaction that revealed more about their nature than the previous one. Every time you confided in them, I watched what they did with the information. Every time you gave them access to a vulnerable part of your life, I monitored how they handled the access when you were not looking. Every time they performed loyalty in your presence, I observed what their mouth produced in your absence. I have been auditing this bill while you were spending it. My child, the reason I waited is because premature exposure of a counterfeit produces denial in the person holding it. If I had shined the light 6 months ago, your trust would have fought the revelation. You would have defended the bill because the bill had not yet depleted enough value for you to question its authenticity. The defense would have been genuine, And genuine defense of a counterfeit is the most dangerous thing a person can do, because it deepens the investment in something fake. I needed the depletion to reach a point where your spirit was already questioning before my light confirmed. You are at that point now. The nagging has done its work. The signal has been persistent enough that your loyalty is beginning to crack under the weight of evidence your conscious mind keeps trying to suppress. You are not fully sure yet, but you are no longer fully certain either. That crack between sure and uncertain is exactly where my ultraviolet light does its most effective work. Type audited. If you are realizing that God has been watching the person you trusted, observing what they do with your vulnerability when you are not looking, and the audit results are about to be revealed. I know what it costs you to even consider that someone you trusted might be counterfeit, my beloved child. This is not a light thing. This is not a casual accusation that you can process without it touching the deepest parts of how you relate to people. The person my light is shining on is not a stranger. They are not someone you hold at a distance. They occupy a position in your life that you gave them, not carelessly but deliberately. You chose to trust them. You chose to open doors for them that you do not open for most people. You placed them in a category that very few people in your life have ever been granted access to. And the idea that someone in that category is not who they appear to be threatens the foundation of how you trust. I saw what it took for you to let this person in. You are not someone who trusts easily. The people around you may not know that, because you perform openness well enough that most assume you are naturally trusting. But I know the internal process, the careful evaluation, the slow extension of access, the testing period that runs invisibly beneath every new relationship as you assess whether this person is safe enough to hold what you are considering giving them. You did the evaluation, and they passed. That is what makes this so painful. They passed because counterfeits are designed to pass evaluation under normal light. They study what genuine currency looks like, and they replicate it with a precision that normal discernment cannot detect. The right words at the right moments, the right vulnerability shared at the right depth to create a sense of mutual openness, the right support offered at the right time to build a debt of loyalty that makes questioning them feel like betrayal. You are not naive for trusting them, my child. You were deceived by a bill that was expertly crafted to pass every test your human discernment could apply. Only divine light catches what human evaluation misses, and divine light is what I am providing now. The deepest wound is not the deception itself. It is the loneliness of sensing it without being able to prove it, my dear one. You have been carrying this signal for weeks, maybe months, a feeling that sits in your stomach after certain interactions with this person. Not a full conclusion, but a residue, something that lingers after they leave the room, something that does not wash off when you try to explain it away with logic and loyalty, and the list of good things they have done that should be sufficient evidence of their authenticity. But the residue remains, and the remaining is the proof you keep dismissing. I watched you try to talk yourself out of it. The internal argument you run every time the signal fires. They have been there for me. They showed up when it mattered. They said the right thing when I needed it. They have done nothing overtly wrong. And every point in the argument is technically accurate, because the counterfeit bill does not fail the obvious tests. It fails the one test that only ultraviolet light can administer. You have been prosecuting a case with evidence the courtroom was not designed to examine. And the isolation of carrying this suspicion is something I have watched corrode you from the inside. You cannot tell anyone about it, because telling someone that you suspect a person who appears genuine would require evidence that your feeling cannot produce. You would sound paranoid, ungrateful, suspicious of someone who has given you no provable reason for suspicion. And the fear of being the one who falsely accused a genuine person has been the chain keeping you silent. My beloved child, your silence has been the counterfeit's greatest protection. Every day you remain quiet about what your spirit is detecting is another day the bill circulates unexamined, another day of depletion, another transaction where the fake passes through your system extracting value, while your loyalty stands guard at the door, preventing anyone, including me, from holding it under the light. I am asking you to lower the guard tonight, not to accuse, to allow the light. Type "allow the light" if you have been guarding someone from examination, because accusing them felt worse than the signal your spirit has been sending. And you are ready to let God's ultraviolet beam reveal what normal light cannot. The signal you have been carrying was never paranoia, my child. It was the earliest stage of my ultraviolet light, beginning to warm up before the full beam was activated. I need to validate something, that the isolation of this experience has been slowly eroding. Your instinct about this person is not a character flaw. It is not insecurity projecting suspicion onto an innocent relationship. It is not the residue of past betrayals contaminating a present connection. What you have been feeling is the preliminary illumination of a divine light source that operates in stages. And the first stage always feels like intuition before it sharpens into revelation. You are not being paranoid. You are being prepared. The discomfort you experienced around this person, the moments where something in their tone did not match their words, where their timing felt orchestrated rather than organic, where their support arrived with a precision that seemed almost too perfect. Those were not your wounds talking. Those were frequency mismatches that only a spirit attuned to divine light can detect at the preliminary stage. Most people never detect counterfeits at the preliminary stage. You did. That is not dysfunction. That is gifting. And the delays in full exposure, the months where you carried the signal without confirmation, those were not God being slow. They were the light warming up. Ultraviolet light does not flash instantly to full power. It builds. It intensifies gradually. And during the warm-up period, the person standing under it begins to feel the heat before they see the results. You have been feeling the heat of the light without seeing the exposure yet. The warm-up period served a critical function. It gave me time to position the evidence in your awareness incrementally, so that when the full beam activates, the revelation does not shatter you, but confirms what your spirit already assembled, piece by piece, during the preliminary phase. My dear one, the full beam is about to activate, and what it reveals will not shock you as much as you fear, because your spirit has already been reading the evidence in low light for longer than your conscious mind admits. The ultraviolet beam is intensifying right now, and the first marks of the counterfeit are becoming visible, my beloved child. Something has already begun surfacing in the last few days. Not a dramatic revelation, a pattern, a small inconsistency that you noticed but almost dismissed the way you have dismissed dozens before it. A moment where the person said one thing and your spirit heard another. A situation where their response did not match the depth of what was required, where the surface looked adequate, but something beneath it registered as hollow. That hollowness is the first visible mark of the counterfeit under divine light. A genuine bill has layers. When you hold it under ultraviolet light, those layers reveal watermarks, embedded threads, hidden features that are invisible to the naked eye but unmistakably present under the beam. A counterfeit bill, under the same light, reveals the absence of those layers, not the presence of something wrong. the absence of something that should be there. That is what you have been detecting. Not something wrong in this person, something missing. I have been increasing the intensity of the beam gradually over the past several weeks. Each increase reveals another missing layer. The first layer that became visible was consistency. You notice that their support appears strategically rather than organically, present when visible, absent when invisible, available when the audience is watching, scarce when the room is empty, and the cost of showing up is paid in private rather than public currency. That pattern is not something you imagined. It is the first watermark that was supposed to be there and is not. And behind that missing layer, there are others that the increasing beam is about to expose. Layers of authenticity that genuine relationships carry without effort, but counterfeit ones must simulate. And simulations always have gaps that divine light makes visible. What I reveal next is the second mark, and when you hear it, your spirit will confirm it before your mind finishes processing it. Type surfacing if you have noticed a pattern of inconsistency in this person recently, something hollow where depth should be, and you now recognize it as the first mark becoming visible under God's ultraviolet light. The second mark the light is revealing is this. They know things about you that you did not give them permission to carry, my child. A genuine bill stays within its denomination. It does not inflate its value. It does not claim to carry more than it was issued to hold. But a counterfeit operates differently. It expands its access beyond what was granted, because its entire operation depends on gathering more currency than it was authorized to touch. This person has been collecting information about you that you did not consciously distribute. Think carefully. There have been moments where they referenced something you do not remember telling them. Moments where their knowledge of your situation exceeded the access you gave. Moments where a conversation with them revealed that the information landscape they are operating from is wider than the territory you intentionally opened to them. That is not attentiveness. That is intelligence gathering. God is exposing a fake person in your life, and the exposure is directly connected to why I am shining the light now rather than later. The counterfeit has been escalating. The access they have been accumulating is approaching a threshold where the damage they can inflict transitions from passive depletion to active destruction. While the counterfeit was simply draining your energy, the cost was manageable. But what they are now positioned to do with what they have gathered moves beyond draining into something I refuse to allow. The light is being shined now because the counterfeit's operation is approaching a critical phase. My dear one, I need you to understand the connection between the title and your life. This is not a message about general discernment. This is a specific warning about a specific person whose access to your life has been built on a foundation of performed authenticity, and whose next move, if undetected, will cost you something that I have been working to protect for years. The beam is shining. The marks are surfacing, and what I reveal in the turning point will make the identity of the counterfeit unmistakable to your spirit. The beam is reaching full intensity now, and the counterfeit is about to be fully illuminated, my beloved child. Everything I have been building toward in this message, the signal you have been carrying, the pattern that surfaced, the hollow layers, the unauthorized access, all of it is converging into a single moment of clarity that will end the confusion you have been living inside for months. No more wondering. No more dismissing. No more arguing with yourself about whether you are being fair or being paranoid. The light does not deal in opinions. It deals in revelation. I need you to prepare for what full illumination feels like. It is not gentle. Not because I am harsh, but because the transition from partial suspicion to complete clarity produces a jolt in the human system. It is the jolt of seeing what was always there but invisible, like walking through a room in the dark for months and suddenly having every light turned on simultaneously. Nothing in the room changed, but your perception of everything in the room changes instantly. The room is about to be flooded with light, and what you see will rewrite your understanding of this relationship from the beginning. Your spirit has been assembling the evidence in low light for weeks. Every inconsistency you noticed, every hollow moment you detected, every instance where the watermark should have been present but was not. That evidence has been accumulating in a file your conscious mind refused to open, because opening it meant accepting a truth that your loyalty was not ready to hold. My child, the file is about to open, not by your hand, by mine. And the person whose name is attached to every piece of evidence in that file, the one whose face your spirit has been circling without your conscious permission, you already know who they are. You have known for longer than you have been willing to admit. The light is not going to show you someone new. It is going to confirm someone you have already suspected. The next thing I speak is the full beam, and what it reveals will set you free from the most expensive confusion of your life. Type clarity if you already sense who the counterfeit is. Your spirit has been circling their name for weeks, and you are ready for God's ultraviolet light to confirm what your loyalty has been, preventing you from accepting. The full beam just activated, and the counterfeit is now fully visible. My dear child, I am not going to speak their name out loud. I do not need to, because the moment the light reached full intensity, your spirit supplied the name faster than my words could form it. The face appeared, the identity registered, and the confirmation landed in your chest with a weight that is not shock but recognition. The heavy, settling, undeniable recognition of finally seeing what you have been sensing for months. You knew. You always knew. The ultraviolet light is not showing you anything new. It is confirming everything your spirit assembled in the dark. Every hollow moment, every missing watermark, every instance of performed loyalty that your conscious mind defended, while your spirit quietly catalogued the evidence. The file is open now, and the name on every piece of evidence inside it matches the face that just appeared when the light reached full power. The counterfeit has been identified, and it cannot be unseen. God is exposing a fake person in your life, and the exposure is not a punishment for them or for you. It is a rescue. What this person was positioned to do next with the access they accumulated, the information they gathered, the trust they cultivated, the strategic proximity they engineered, would have produced damage so specific to the area of your life I am currently building that I could not allow one more day of undetected circulation. The light was activated today because tomorrow would have been too late. I need you to sit inside this moment of clarity without rushing to action. The revelation is not a command to confront. It is a command to see, clearly, completely, without the fog of loyalty, or the filter of guilt, or the distortion of fear that told you seeing the truth would make you the villain. You are not the villain, my beloved child. You are the one who was holding counterfeit currency without knowing it. And the God who shined the light did not do it to shame you for being deceived. He did it to free you from a deception that was about to cost you everything the light was designed to protect. The bill is exposed. The marks are undeniable, and you will never see this person in normal light again. Now that the counterfeit is visible, everything about how you have been experiencing this relationship is being reinterpreted under the light, my child. This is what happens when ultraviolet revelation hits a relationship that was operating in normal light, every past interaction gets re-examined. Not obsessively, automatically. Your spirit begins replaying moments that confused you at the time and applying the new information to the old data. And what was confusing in the dark becomes devastatingly clear in the light. The moments that did not make sense are about to make complete sense. The time they said something supportive, but you felt worse afterward. That was not your sensitivity malfunctioning. That was a counterfeit bill performing a transaction that looked like a deposit, but was actually a withdrawal. Their words added to the surface, their energy subtracted from the core, and your spirit detected the subtraction, even though your ears only heard the addition. You were not being ungrateful. You were being depleted by a transaction disguised as a gift. The occasion when they showed up during your crisis. The one you pointed to every time your suspicion tried to surface as proof of their authenticity. Re-examine that moment under the light. Look at the timing. Look at what they gained access to during your vulnerability. Look at what information was exchanged while your defenses were lowered by pain. Their presence during your crisis was not a watermark of genuineness. It was a counterfeit's most strategic move, because nothing opens a vault faster than a person in pain being offered comfort by someone they trust. My dear one, the reinterpretation is not meant to poison every memory. It is meant to free you from the obligation of defending a currency that was never real. The good moments were real experiences inside a fake framework. You can honor what you felt without honoring the bill that produced it. Your feelings were genuine. The bill was not, and the light has made the distinction permanent. What I reveal next is what the counterfeit has been costing you. Measured not in emotions, but in destiny. Type reinterpreted if past moments with this person are suddenly making sense under the light. And you can see now that what looked like deposits were actually withdrawals from areas of your life you did not know were being accessed. Let me show you what your life looks like once the counterfeit has been removed from circulation, my beloved child. The first thing that changes is the energy. You are going to experience a surplus that appears to come from nowhere, a sudden increase in vitality, in motivation, in the basic capacity to move through your day without the invisible drain that has been extracting from your system with every interaction. The surplus will confuse you at first, because you will not be able to trace it to any new addition in your life. That is because it was not caused by an addition. It was caused by a subtraction. Removing the counterfeit restores what the counterfeit was consuming. The piece that has been evaporating without identifiable cause is going to stabilize. Not because your circumstance improved, but because the agent of disruption that was operating inside the trust perimeter has been identified, and your spirit is no longer running a constant background detection process that consumed enormous amounts of spiritual bandwidth. The nagging stops when the light confirms, and when the nagging stops, the piece that was being displaced by it floods back into the space the signal was occupying. You are going to feel quiet inside for the first time in months, my child. Your discernment is going to sharpen dramatically. The experience of carrying a counterfeit and then having it exposed by divine light produces a calibration in your spiritual detection system that no teaching or training could replicate. You now know what a counterfeit feels like from the inside. The specific texture of hollow loyalty, the exact weight of performed authenticity, the precise temperature of a relationship that looks warm on the surface, but carries cold at the core. That knowledge is now permanently installed in your system. Future counterfeits will be detected at the preliminary stage, rather than the advanced stage, because your system has been upgraded by this experience. What took months to identify in this person will take days to identify in the next one. The light did not just expose one counterfeit. It trained your eyes to see all of them. People are going to notice a change in you that they cannot attribute to any visible event, my dear one. The ones who knew you during the counterfeit season, who watched your energy dim and your peace fluctuate, and your joy carry a weight it should not have been carrying. They are going to witness restoration without understanding the cause, because the cause was invisible. The counterfeit was invisible. The depletion was invisible. And the removal will be equally invisible to everyone except you and the God who shined the light. But the effects of the removal will be undeniable. Your voice is going to carry a clarity it has been missing. Not volume clarity. The slight hesitation that entered your speech when the counterfeit was near. The unconscious editing you performed. Because some part of you knew the information was not safe in their hands. The subtle dimming of your full expression. Because their presence required a dampened version of you. All of that is going to dissolve. You are going to sound like yourself again. And people will hear the difference. Relationships that were being contaminated by the counterfeit's proximity are going to begin healing. My child, what you may not have realized is that counterfeit currency does not only affect the person holding it, it affects every transaction the holder engages in. Your genuine relationships have been absorbing the residue of a counterfeit interaction pattern. The guardedness you developed around the fake person leaked into how you engaged with the real ones. The distrust that was appropriate toward the counterfeit became generalized distrust that was unfair toward the authentic. As the counterfeit is removed, your capacity to trust genuine people begins restoring. New connections that were blocked by the counterfeit's presence are going to begin appearing. There are people I have been trying to bring into your life whose frequency was being repelled by the counterfeit signal that was circulating in your system. Authentic currency attracts authentic connections. Counterfeit currency repels them, and what has been approaching your life but unable to enter is about to find an open door. Type authentic if you believe that removing the counterfeit is going to restore genuine connections that were being blocked. And the relationship God is bringing next will carry watermarks that the ultraviolet light confirms as real. I need you to understand why the counterfeit targeted you specifically, my beloved child, because it was not random and it was not bad luck. Counterfeit bills do not attach themselves to empty wallets. They circulate toward value. They seek out the transactions where the most genuine currency is moving, because that is where a counterfeit can extract the most benefit while remaining undetected the longest. A wallet full of authentic bills provides the perfect camouflage for one that is not real. You are targeted because your life carries high-value, authentic currency. The kindness in you that gives without calculating return. That is genuine currency. The loyalty in you that stays when others leave. That is genuine currency. The depth in you that offers real intimacy in a world of shallow connection. That is genuine currency of such rare denomination that counterfeits are drawn to it, the way forgeries are drawn to the transactions where the largest bills are moving. The counterfeit did not stumble into your life. They were attracted to your value. And I need you to hear what that means about your identity, my child. The presence of a counterfeit in your life is not evidence that your discernment is broken. It is evidence that what you carry is valuable enough to attract sophisticated imitation. Cheap currency does not get counterfeited. Common denominations do not justify the effort of replication. Only the highest value bills, the ones that carry the most weight in the most significant transactions, are worth the cost of producing a convincing fake. You are high-value currency in the kingdom. That is why the counterfeit invested so heavily in imitating authenticity around you. I chose you for this exposure, not because you are gullible, but because what I placed inside you must be protected from unauthorized access. The gifts, the calling, the anointing, the destiny that I embedded in your design operates as spiritual currency of the highest denomination. And currency of that caliber requires a level of protection that only divine light can provide. You are not a victim of deception. You are a carrier of value that deception cannot resist targeting. The doubt that is surfacing right now sounds like mercy, and that is what makes it the most dangerous counterfeit of all, my dear one. It is whispering something like this: what if I am wrong about them? What if the light is showing me something that is not really there? What if I act on these revelations and discover that I just destroyed a genuine relationship, based on a feeling that turned out to be nothing more than my own insecurity projecting suspicion onto someone who was actually real? That doubt is not mercy. It is the counterfeit's last defense mechanism activating inside your loyalty. I need you to see what is happening structurally. The moment ultraviolet light exposes a counterfeit, the counterfeit's only remaining strategy is to make the person holding it question the light rather than the bill. If the doubt can redirect your scrutiny from the exposed bill to the source of illumination, if it can make you question the beam instead of the currency, then the counterfeit survives the exposure and returns to circulation inside your trust. The doubt is not protecting the relationship. It is protecting the counterfeit and the specific fear of being wrong, of falsely accusing a genuine person. Let me address this with clarity that leaves no room for the doubt to hide. I am not asking you to publicly accuse this person. I am not commanding you to confront them with evidence, or demand a confession, or stage a dramatic exposure. I am asking you to see, that is all, to accept what the divine light has revealed, and to adjust your level of access accordingly. Seeing is not accusation. Seeing is protection. My beloved child, the light I shined is not human suspicion. It is not your trauma. It is not your past projecting onto your present. It is the ultraviolet beam of a God who sees what operates beneath the surface of every relationship in your life, and who loves you too specifically to let a counterfeit continue depleting the value of someone whose currency was designed for kingdom transactions. Trust the light, not the doubt that is asking you to turn it off. Type trust the light if the doubt just tried to make you question the revelation instead of the relationship. And you are choosing to trust what God exposed over what the counterfeit is trying to defend. While the counterfeit was operating in your life, I was never outside the transaction. I was inside every exchange, monitoring what was being taken, my child. You pictured yourself alone in this, navigating a relationship that felt off without any divine assistance, making decisions about trust and access without a God who seemed to be weighing in on the matter. The silence from heaven on this specific person's felt like either approval of their presence or indifference to the danger, and neither interpretation brought you comfort. But I was not silent. I was the signal. Every nagging feeling you experienced about this person, every unexplainable discomfort, every moment of spiritual unease that fired after an interaction that looked perfectly fine on the surface, that was my voice. Not the audible voice you expected, not the dramatic revelation you were waiting for. The quiet, persistent, impossible to silence signal that operated beneath your conscious awareness and refused to let you fully settle into a trust that was not trustworthy. I was speaking the entire time. through the signal. My beloved child, there were moments when the counterfeit came dangerously close to accessing something in your life that would have caused irreversible damage. Moments you did not know were dangerous because the danger was disguised as normal interaction. But I was in the room, and in those moments, I amplified the signal, turned up the nagging just enough to make you hesitate, to hold back one piece of information you were about to share, to decline one invitation that would have given them access to something I was protecting. Your hesitations were not antisocial. They were divinely guided micro-boundaries. Every time you felt that inexplicable pull to withhold, to not share something, to not invite them deeper, to not give them the access they were positioning themselves for, that was me, placing my hand between the counterfeit and the vault of your life. Not dramatically, quietly, in the small invisible adjustments that prevented the worst of what was being planned, without you ever knowing what was being prevented. I was protecting you inside the deception the entire time it was active. I know the exact moment the counterfeit entered your life, my dear one, and I know every transaction they have conducted since, not in general terms, in specific, time-stamped, divinely archived detail. I know the first conversation where they measured you, the one that felt like connection but was actually assessment, where they were not learning who you are out of genuine interest, but mapping the landscape of your vulnerabilities to determine the most efficient point of entry into your trust. I watched the mapping, and I recorded every coordinate they marked. I know the specific thing they shared about themselves that made you believe the relationship was mutual, the vulnerability they offered that felt like a genuine opening of their own vault, a moment of honesty so precise that it dissolved the last layer of your natural guardedness and granted them the access they had been engineering toward since the first interaction. My beloved child, that moment of shared vulnerability was not an opening. It was a key, crafted to fit the specific lock of your particular defense system. The key was counterfeit, but the door it opened was real. I know what they have spoken about you when your back was turned. The words I will not repeat, because repeating them would wound you in places the counterfeit has not yet been able to reach. But I need you to know that the discrepancy between what their mouth produces in your presence and what it produces in your absence is the most damning mark the ultraviolet light has revealed. A genuine bill reads the same on both sides. A counterfeit carries one design on the face and a different design on the back. Their two faces are now visible to you, and they cannot merge them back into one. And the God who knows every transaction, every word spoken in front of you and behind you, every piece of information gathered and every use it was put to, is the same God telling you that the audit is complete. The evidence is assembled. The counterfeit is exposed. And what remains is not confusion, but the cleanest clarity you have experienced in this relationship since the day it began. Type both sides. If God just revealed that this person carries a different face when you are not in the room, and the ultraviolet light has made both sides permanently visible to you now. Now that the counterfeit has been fully exposed, there is a specific action I need you to take, my beloved child, and it requires more precision than emotion. Do not confront, adjust. Your first instinct will be to address this directly, to present the evidence your spirit has compiled and demand an explanation that would either confirm the counterfeit or exonerate it. But confronting a counterfeit with evidence of its own forgery does not produce confession. It produces adaptation. They will study what you detected, identify where their performance failed, and return with an upgraded version of the same counterfeit that is now calibrated to pass the specific test that caught them. Confrontation educates the counterfeit. Adjustment neutralizes it. Here is what adjustment looks like. You do not announce the change. You implement it quietly, strategically, with the precision of someone who has identified the fake bill and is now removing it from circulation without alerting the system that produced it. Reduce access, not to zero overnight. That creates a confrontation by absence, gradually, methodically. The information you were sharing, stop sharing it, not dramatically. Just stop including them in the updates that feed their intelligence operation. The vulnerability you are offering, redirect it toward the genuine bills in your life, the invitations that gave them proximity to your most sensitive areas. Let those invitations decrease in frequency until the counterfeit finds themselves holding a level of access that matches their actual authenticity, which is significantly less than what they currently hold. Guard your reaction, my child. The counterfeit will sense the adjustment before you announce it. They are calibrated to detect changes in your openness because your openness is their oxygen supply. When they sense the reduction, they will escalate their performance, increase the displays of loyalty, amplify the language of commitment, produce a surge of apparent authenticity designed to make you question the light. Do not question the light. The surge is the counterfeit's immune response to being detected. Let it surge and hold your adjustment. The light has spoken. Your movement now is not reaction. It is obedience to a God who exposed the bill to protect the wallet. You made it through the full beam, my beloved child, and I need you to feel what clarity actually weighs after months of carrying confusion. The confusion is gone, not reduced, not managed, gone. The exhausting internal debate that has been running in the background of every interaction with this person. Are they real? Am I paranoid? Should I trust what I feel or trust what I see? That debate has been permanently adjourned by a light that does not deal in opinions, but in revelation. You are not confused anymore. And the absence of confusion feels like breathing after being underwater. I want to thank you for something that the counterfeit tried to prevent you from ever doing. Thank you for allowing the light. Thank you for not turning away when the beam intensified and the revelation became uncomfortable. Thank you for sitting through an exposure that threatened to dismantle a relationship your loyalty had been protecting, and choosing to trust the God holding the light over the person standing in it. That trust took more courage than the counterfeit will ever understand. I know the grief that is settling in alongside the clarity. They are not contradictory. You can grieve the relationship you thought you had while accepting the revelation of what it actually was. The grief is real because the investment was real. The time you gave, the trust you extended, the vulnerability you offered, those were genuine currencies spent on a counterfeit transaction, and the loss of that investment deserves to be mourned even as the exposure sets you free. My child, grieve it. But do not let the grief send you back into the fog. Let the clarity hold you right now. Let it wrap around the places that the counterfeit accessed and seal them with the watermark of divine truth. Let it settle into the detection system that will guard your trust from this day forward with an accuracy that only experience under ultraviolet light can produce. You can see now, and seeing, truly, fully, divinely seeing, is the most protective gift I could give you. Type I can see if the confusion that has been clouding this relationship is finally gone, replaced by a clarity so clean that you will never again question the signal your spirit has been sending about this person. You are not the person who carries counterfeit currency undetected anymore, my beloved child. That identity, the one who sensed the fake but could not prove it, the one who dismissed the signal as paranoia, the one who defended the bill Because normal light showed nothing wrong, the one who absorbed the depletion of a counterfeit transaction and blamed themselves for the deficit. That identity was dissolved the moment the ultraviolet beam reached full intensity, and the marks became undeniable. You are someone who sees now, and those who see do not go back to blindness. The confusion that governed your discernment for months has been permanently replaced by a calibration that no counterfeit can bypass. Your spiritual detection system has been upgraded by the most expensive teacher available. Direct experience of deception followed by direct exposure through divine light. That combination produces a discernment so refined that future counterfeits will be detected at the threshold of your life rather than the center of it. No one gets that deep again. The light made sure of it. From this moment forward, you carry the identity of someone whose trust is guarded by ultraviolet revelation. Not paranoia, revelation. Not suspicion, calibration. Not fear of people, wisdom about currency. You will still trust. You will still open. You will still extend genuine currency to the relationships I bring into your life. But every bill that enters your hands will be held under a light that the counterfeit taught you to use. My dear child, the counterfeit intended to deplete you. Instead, they trained you. They intended to access your vault. Instead, they activated a security system that will protect everything I place inside it from this day forward. They intended to remain undetected indefinitely. Instead, they became the reason your detection system was upgraded to a level that makes future deception nearly impossible. What they meant to take from you became the very thing that made you untouchable. You are protected. You are clear-eyed. You are upgraded. And the God who shined the light will keep the beam active over every relationship that enters your life from this moment forward. Because a child who has been deceived once under his watch will never be deceived the same way again. The counterfeit has been removed. The genuine remains. And the light that exposed the fake is now permanently installed over your life as a gift from a father who would rather shine an uncomfortable truth than let his beloved child spend one more day paying the price of a bill that was never real. Subscribe to this channel so that every time God shines his ultraviolet light over your life, the revelation reaches you before the counterfeit has time to adapt. You are not someone who carries fake currency anymore. You are someone who sees under divine light. The next message carries the next beam, and the upgraded version of you will be ready to receive it. Type ultraviolet if you are leaving this message permanently changed. Knowing the counterfeit has been exposed, your detection system has been upgraded, your trust is now guarded by divine light, and no one who is not genuine will ever again circulate undetected through the life of someone whose eyes have been opened by the living God.